こちらラジャッシュネイヤ
ネイヤ
さんですね来ていただいたんですけど、なんと MIT のプロフェッサー
I was a professor. I studied at MIT. I was a professor at Asia School of Business. Yes.
MIT も卒業して MIT でプロフェッサーもされて、で起業家 You are entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah. And then educator.
Serial entrepreneur, educator.
Serial entrepreneur.
It's 4 companies, yeah.
連続起業家で4社も。今日はラジャスさんに特にアントレプレナーシップっていう起業家育成みたいなことを言われてるんですけど、昨今それについてちょっとお話を聞いていきたいと思います。よろしくお願いします。How do you think about the education system?
So our education system is primarily curriculum driven. So from morning till evening, they are asked to learn things, but they do not know how to apply. You know, they learn physics equations, trigonometry, history, geography, literature.
Mathematics.
Yeah, and they have to memorize things, and the only way they do is write exam. And if you can throw back on the paper, they get their exam, and they move to the next degree or next class. But you're not. Our education system today is a teaching system. It is not a learning system.
Oh yeah, it's true. Just no.
Yeah, the teacher writes on the board, you copy it, and you write the exam. You think your education is over. No, you haven't learned anything. They just know how to memorize it and write it back on paper. So we need to teach them how to think differently. To make them think, you need to take them outside the comfort zone and make them fail. They need to fail in the sense, make curated small failures. And today, what you saw today, because everything is a failure.
Fail.
And then you fail. You say, why? Why did it fail? How can you fix it? And once you fix it, you realize, oh, I can fix it. I feel confident I can. At the next level, our education system does not promote failure. So without failure, you cannot learn. So you're playing in the middle of the court. You're not going to the edges and all that. Because you may think you're going to fail. So the whole purpose of this experience is to keep taking them outside their comfort zone, make them fail, make them realize that they can come back up, build that confidence, build the resilience. Most important, teach them how to learn, because education system is not actually a learning system, as I said. It is primarily it's a teaching system. So after they come out, they still say, keep feeding me information. If I ask a student to go figure out something on their own, most of them don't feel confident. Tell me what I need to write, what I need to tell you, I'll do the same thing. Instead of saying, I will go figure it out myself. I can go learn on my own. That confidence has to be built.
So you mean we need some confidence.
Yes.
Now the education system, especially in Japan, like more
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
It's not just everywhere.
And then, how do you think about the education system in the world compared to Japan? Is it or is it the same?
It's all very similar. All very similar. Yeah. Nobody wants to change. No.
Nice music,
But the thing is, all systems, all education systems in the world, they're all trying to. The problem I see is that it's curriculum driven, as I said.
How we can change the curriculum, driven things, in education world, how do you think about that? I think, in my opinion, school we cannot change actually. So we need to change,
Exactly.
outside of the school.
Yes.
Then we need more like a third place for them to run.
So the way I look at it is that today you can't change anything without changing everything. You need to go change at the Board of Education, school board to curriculum. All those things need to change because everybody keeps thinking our education is writing on the board, copying it down, writing an exam. So the only way to change it is at the edges.
What the edge?
On the outside of the education system. Nobody teaches these things in the classroom. So go teach all those things let them start to realize.
So the way like teacher go out, you mean that?
Teacher has to go out and learn, and the students have to learn outside the curriculum. Because if you go to the school and say, let's change the curriculum, people are going to beat you up. You cannot change the curriculum.
But I think teachers think we have to teach.
This is the problem. The issue is that a teacher by themselves cannot change anything because it is coming from the top.
Government.
So everything comes from the top. So if a teacher thinks I'm going to change everything, you lose your job. So the teacher cannot do anything. Nobody can do everything because everything is it's like a traffic jam. Nobody can move till everybody moves. And the only way out is to take the sideways. Do something different. Things like this to start to build their confidence, build their creativity, build their problem-solving skills, critical thinking outside the education system. And once you can do that, you can build confident children who can go out and do things. If you go to Google or Facebook or any of these technology companies, they don't care about your degree.
Oh yeah, it's true.
They don't care about your transcripts. They care about your skills.
Skills?
Skills.
On the mindset? No.
Yeah,
Skill
means my abilities to do things.
What kind of skill?
So if I go to Google and say, look at all the code I have written, software I have written, look at all the projects I manage.
So the things they can make.
Yes, things I can learn on my own. Because today the world is asking you to learn new things. Every 5 years, every 10 years. 10 years back we were talking about IoT devices and things like that. Now they're talking about AI. 10 years later it will be something else. Schools cannot catch up with what the world wants. So you should build the child to be a self-learner.
I think you have the kind of the framework to build entrepreneurship. Can you explain that kind of thing?
So,
like 0 to maybe
right.
that kind of thing.
So if you look at every one of us is born with an entrepreneur in us.
Everyone, even Japanese.
Oh, of course, Japanese is one. Okay. Every human being has that.
Yeah.
Our school system, our culture, our society kills your confidence. And that is why you grow up thinking, oh, I won't be able to do that. That is not for me. I'm not this, I'm not that. So it is nothing to do with what you're born with. It is what the world has done to you. Okay. So everyone has an entrepreneur in us. Only about very few people believe they can be an entrepreneur. And a still smaller set of people actually go out and do a startup or do something. Okay, like you are one of the very, very few people in this the country. Okay, so when you look at it, you have 100% of the people, of which 2% think they can do things. 1% go out and do a startup. My question is, what happens to the 98% who do not start, and why? And that was my research, to see how do you change these kids, children, youth, who have the ability but do not have the confidence or do not believe they can do. And basically they need to learn how to think, how to create, how to learn.
When is the best timing to get this entrepreneurship mindset?
10 years old.
10 years old, junior school, right?
So you're not teaching them how to start a company at 10 years. You're teaching them how to think, how to build your confidence, how to learn at 10 years. So once you build that, if imagine all the things that you're designing today, they are going into CAD design and all these things later in the afternoon. Once you learn that, you start to realize you can learn. Once you learn that, you can create things, products that can solve a problem. Once you know there's a problem and if you have created a solution, now that starts the entrepreneur's journey. If people have a problem and if I have created a solution, question is, how do I go sell it? How do you make money? But it all starts with building your internal confidence, internal abilities in problem solving, critical thinking, self-learning skills. If you can build that, you can take them to the next stage of maker, innovator, entrepreneur.
And can you explain about the maker, phase more? Government saying we need entrepreneurship things, but they are doing always during the innovator phase and then the entrepreneurship phase. Why we need the making phase?
So first thing, government says every country wants entrepreneurs, but most of them don't know how to create entrepreneurs. They think entrepreneur is like, suddenly if I gave them money to go start a company, they become entrepreneur. It's like saying, I want a gymnast. I'm going to look for people who can bend and jump, make them, send them to Olympics. They're not going to win anything because you need to go when they're 5 years old, train them to become Olympic gymnast. Okay, you don't just go pick up somebody from the street at 22 years old and say go send them to Olympics. But in entrepreneurship, we believe, somehow we think that we can just pick anyone and tomorrow you could be an entrepreneur. You need to build a foundation, and the foundation is your confidence and skills and beliefs and mindsets. And the Maker program primarily builds the foundation. And from the foundation, you build problem-solving skills. That is the innovative stage. And once you know how to solve problems, and if you can create products and technology, now comes the entrepreneur. So we can't just suddenly take somebody and say, go start a company. No, they do not know how to do that. So if you look at football teams, do not take people who come from the street and say, go play center forward. They go to schools, look at people, train the kids, give them scholarship, go to scout them, send them to college, train them before they become professionals. Entrepreneurship also has to be doing the same thing. You need to start with children to build their future entrepreneurs. And we are wasting our potential, so much potential in our children, and we are wasting it because we are still focusing on the curriculum. How do you write history and exams and math exams, and so instead of saying how do you build a strong human from inside.
Okay, thank you very much. Sunny.